This isn't your average podcast.
Do you like party?
This is Full Send. Join the party.
So you guys launched the Nelk Love Island. Congrats, boys.
Who's
What
that?
the production, dude.
Like 5 years ago, we could do that easily and it'd be crazy when we're partying, but when you're like in your 30s a little bit.
Well, that's why you barely show up to set, day 2.
Just a few hours tardy.
Steiny wanted to be the host of the show, too. It's like, why didn't you let me be the host? It's like, bro, you showed up 6 hours late every day.
I had a girlfriend.
The Full Send podcast. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
This Jocks 94.5 podcast is brought to you by Millennium Satellite and Video. Log on to msbnow.com. TV excellence everywhere. That's Millennium. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning starts now.
Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 7:23, Friday, June 26th, right here on Jocks. We've actually mentioned a lot of LSU in the last week and a half. Wanted to get Matt Moscona on to just kind of clear the air on some things of what's happening. Matt, first start with these freshman defensive linemen. Heard a lot of buzz, some from Baton Rouge, some from just recruiting analysts, but it feels like, one, there may be room for them to actually compete, contribute, be a real part of what LSU is going to be this year. And then two, they just might be that good. What are your expectations for the incoming freshmen assisting this Blake Baker defensive line this upcoming season?
Yeah, cool. Well, 3 of them are going to play, and they're going to be part of the rotation. So, and in spring, remember, so Lamar Brown is probably the headliner, right? He's the number one player in the country. He's from U-High in Baton Rouge. He was not an early enrollee, so he did not go through spring football. Now, he goes to school on LSU's campus, so he was there every day at practice, but he was just observing. He was not participating. But Lamar Brown's going to play edge, and he will be part of the rotation. Remember, they suffered an injury to Gabe Relaford during spring. In ACL, he's done for the year. So their numbers are already thin there. So Lamar Brown, like Cole, I wouldn't be surprised if like literally the first defensive series he's rotating in. And then on the interior, you had Richard Anderson, who's a 5-star from New Orleans. He was the number 1 defensive tackle in the country. And then a kid out of Georgia named Deuce Geralds. When they would go 11 on 11 in spring, and I know Lane didn't do this at Ole Miss. I don't know why he did necessarily at LSU in his first spring, but he let us watch the entire practice for the second half of spring. So, I mean, everything. Like, come watch the whole thing. 11 on 11, scrimmages, all of it. And when they would run with the ones, they would rotate 5 defensive tackles. And 2 of them were Richard Anderson and Deuce Geralds, the true freshmen. So all that to say, like Malik Blockton was one of them. I know your audience knows from his time at Auburn. They have a Clemson transfer named Stephylan Green. And then Dom McKinley, who's a former 5-star, is a junior now at LSU. But long answer, but all that to say, Cole, like those 3 guys are absolutely part of the rotation and will play a lot.
Seriously, what do people say about going to school at University Lab? Is that like super cool? Is that like, would people rather not do that? Like, I know a lot of our listening audience doesn't really understand what it is. Like, there's Southern Lab that's on the campus of Southern. There's University Lab that's literally on the campus of LSU. Which the coolest thing, I think, maybe almost all time of Nick Saban's tenure was like he had 3 starters from University Lab one time when he was coaching at Alabama. And I didn't realize it until I did one of their games. And I'm like, hold on. This guy's got 3 starters that went to high school on LSU's campus. Like, that's pretty wild to think about. But, like, what is that like?
So to the point you just made, it's interesting because there are some guys who just love it, and they grow up around LSU. I mean, in the shadows. If you go, Cole, if you go to a baseball game at LSU at Alec Box, and you look beyond the left field wall, like the baseball field right there is U-High's baseball field. I mean, it's literally on campus. So some guys love it, and they want to go to LSU because they grew up on campus, and it's a dream they've always had. And some guys want to get away. I don't think that's any different than like any other high school in America in a college town. Like, I'm sure guys that go to Auburn High, or some probably love Auburn and want to go there, and some want to get out of town. So, and Nick obviously had a great relationship from his time here with a lot of those guys. And look, U-High has been a great football program over the last decade, really, 10 to 15 years. And so they produce a lot of high-level Division I athletes in all different sports, but namely football. And so, sometimes LSU has to pick and choose. Like, are those guys that are I'll give you an example. So Ryan Clark, who many people know, he was an ESPN analyst, played at LSU, was all SEC. Ryan's son Jordan went to U-High, but LSU didn't offer Jordan. So Jordan went to Arizona State, then Notre Dame to finish his career. So sometimes there's that component of it, but really it just depends on the kid. But Lamar Brown, for example, was one that wanted to stay home and always had an eye on LSU, and it really worked LSU's favor there.
All right, so Kiffin says earlier in the week, Sam Leavitt's full strength. This has been a slight concern of mine. I think it's been a little bit understated. People just automatically plug him in as, hey, everything's going to be great, but it's still an injury you had to overcome. It's one that in other instances in sports has been reoccurring, which I think you have to at least take into consideration. Where is sort of Sam Leavitt with the offense and his health based on what you know right now?
So during spring, so for those that don't know, he had a Liz Frank, and so he had surgery, missed basically half the season. The surgery was in November, or no, it was October. I'm sorry, and he missed basically half the season with Arizona State. He was limited in spring. He was out there every day, but mostly just in tennis shoes and standing around by the quarterbacks. Did very little. What we know as of now is that two things that we're aware of. Number one, Lane Kiffin said that on the GPS devices they use, he was up to 21 miles an hour running, so he's running full. And then Leavitt posted a video of him dunking on the goalpost on the indoor facility. So seems good. Now I can tell you I have not been to any of the workouts. Media is not allowed to go to any of these June workouts, but I have spoken to staff members, and they say he's a full go. He's fully participating in everything. And Cole, I agree with you, man. I'm of the belief that whatever LSU's ceiling is this year, they will only approach it if Sam Leavitt is healthy and playing like the guy that got Arizona State to the college football playoff 2 years ago. Because, like we just mentioned, the media got to watch a lot of spring, and there's talent on this team. I don't know that there's great depth, but one thing is true, that the other two quarterbacks that they brought in this portal cycle are talented young players, but they in no way look like they're ready to lead a playoff run. So if LSU is going to be that in year one under Kiffin, Leavitt's got to be healthy and ready to go.
Here's something Greg and I kind of disagreed on yesterday, and it's the offensive line. Listen, I've watched Jordan Seaton. His ceiling is as high as any offensive lineman in college football right now, no doubt. I mean, the David Sanders kid at Tennessee would be up there. There's not many that move like him, can do physically the things that he can do inside that frame. It's incredible. He's still one guy. There was more than one guy that was the problem last year. And some of it was scheme, system, play calling. I mean, you and I have talked about that on this show and your show before.
Yep.
But I don't think it just magically repairs itself, not even repairs itself, but becomes good or great, which some people are just automatically assuming. What is your outlook of that group as we sit here today?
Yeah, there was good in spring and there was not good. They really had two choices, Cole, because this is unequivocally true. The offensive line at LSU last year was the worst position group on the team. Like there's no debating that. It was the worst position group on the team. But they had a bunch of highly recruited guys, some 4 and 5 stars that have played a lot. I think I counted up, they had maybe 9 or 10 guys that had SEC experience after last season. And so the new staff came in and they really had two decisions. Do you run it back with a bunch of guys who have experience but didn't play very well, or do you just blow it up and remake the whole thing? Well, they decided to blow it up and remake the whole thing. And the one guy they retained was Braylon Moore, the center, who was their best offensive lineman last year. Best of a bad group, but he had a solid year. And they just decided, let's go remake this whole thing. And so they've added guys with experience. I mean, you mentioned Seaton. Alubaz, the guy who came in from Maryland, is a 2-year starter. Actually started his career at Georgia, and is a 2-year starter in the Big Ten. They got a battle at left guard, and one of the holdovers, Weston Davis, may end up winning the right tackle job. So look, the real challenge, not that you don't know this, but it's getting enough time on task where 5 can play together as one, and none of these guys have played together. So that's really the challenge. I think what you have with this group is a collection of players that are more accomplished college football players than what they had before, but you certainly lack continuity. And I think you still have a big question: who's going to play left guard and who's going to play right tackle?
How have your expectations changed since the Lane Kiffin hire was made and all the excitement was generated to the highest level to now? And that could be more so, could be more wins, fewer wins. Like where was your expectation then? Where is it today?
For year one?
Correct.
Or so the day they hired him, it would have been impossible to give you an expectation that day because that was before the portal and they remade the entire roster. I mean, Cole, they brought in 42 transfers. So, I mean, but if you asked me then, like when the roster was set after the portal, I think they went and spent like a team that expects to make the college football playoff this year. Now, I think looking at them, their first 22 could be as good as anybody in the SEC. I really worry about their depth on both sides of the ball, but I think that's probably a commonality and a reality for every team in college football today. I think it's really hard to build good veteran depth, but it really comes back to Levitt, Cole. The team that I saw in spring, I would not project to make the college football playoff. But the team I saw in spring didn't have their starting quarterback. So I don't want, when people ask me this question, I don't want to cop out because, I mean, our job is to give opinions. But it really is, they have to have Sam Levitt healthy and playing like a quarterback capable of getting a team to the playoff. Because if Levitt's not there, if you tell me Levitt gets hurt and they have to rely on Landon Clark or Hussam Longstreet, then I think this is probably a 7 or 8 win team. And for a roster that's pushing $50 million, that would be a massive disappointment.
It can be interesting to see. Appreciate the time today. Great catching us up on LSU, Matt. Look forward to doing it again soon. I guess we'll see you in Tampa.
Yep, see you in Tampa.
There you go. Matt Moscona joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Does radio there in Baton Rouge, covers LSU. One thing he said that I want to have a further discussion on, and that is the LSU roster. Could it be the best in the SEC? We'll discuss it next right here on Jocks.
Go inside Jocks 94.5 on Jocks TV. Morning Jocks, Mac and Cube, and 3-Man Front video simulcasts are presented by Bill Smith Buick GMC and Game Day Men's Health. Watch on the Jocks mobile app and YouTube by searching Jocks 94.5 TV.
Square up.
Yo, what's going on, man? It's Andre Berto, 2-time world champion. I fought. I loved it. I really wanted to do that sit down from a fighter's perspective.
My G. What's going on? Caleb Clatts.
What's going on, my boy? Now you got a chance to really draw in your audience, to let them see who you are.
I've had to have a lot of internal talks to say, do I even want to carry on?
As fighters, we know what time it is. Like I think the time is now.
Square up.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform. Let's go.